All right, this session's on doing your final layout or output for a publication or a presentation. Number of things you can do in MNOVA. The easy thing to do is you can turn each of these components off that you don't want in your final plot. You can turn your peak labels off and on. Once you've done a multiplet analysis, then you can turn the integral information off under there. You can do the labels off and on, the ranges off and on, which is at the bottom. And then the curves are just the integral traces. There's also, you can change the font size of each of these components also and change their colors. If you right click on your spectrum properties, then there are a number of options at that point. One of the things that's people like to do in general, a lot of people like to do, is turn the title off here that comes with the spectrum from whichever instrument that you acquired the data on. Simply just turn off the check mark there, click apply, and then that goes off. Under grid, if you don't want the grid lines on, you can turn off the horizontal and vertical grid. Under 1D, if you want to make the color of your spectra different, you can change that here, change it to black. And under scales, you can change the font size at the bottom to make it a little easier to see if you want. One of the things a lot of people like to do is turn off the vertical scale. So MNOVA always puts a scale along the side. And if you it's right here under this check mark here. Click apply. And then you can see that it's off there and gives a little more space on the spectra also. Under peaks, you can change the font size and color. If you want to go up to a little larger, it makes it a little larger and easier to see. Same is true for integral numbers. So the integral numbers are kind of small for a presentation. So once you've done the multiplet analysis, you'll see the font that's not active here. But if you want to do the integrals, then you can change it under the multiplet selection. Makes these numbers larger. So a number of options under properties, and that's just right click on top of the spectrum and change a number of things there. Once you have all your components like you want them, you can change the overall layout of the output by, once you see the green dots at the borders, you can drag those in, make the whole spectrum smaller or center it, and then place items around it if you want. You can put your parameters over here, you can put a structure up here, peak list, so you got some space to put things that aren't on top of your peaks. So one way to do that is under view. You have tables. You can drop down. You can select which table you want to put on there at any given time. You can look at under NMR if you want to put the peak list of peaks on your spectrum. You can. Or the integral values. Any of those things will show up as a table on the spectrum here, and then you can drag it to the clear position. You can put let's do it with the parameters here. You select parameters, click OK, and any of these tables that pop up as a separate window will have an option for report. So you click report, and they'll put it right on your spectrum. And once you have the table on the spectrum, it also, if you click on that object, you'll get the green dots at the corners, and you can resize that object and then move it around. So you can move that into an area that's not overlapping with your peaks. You can also change the font size and the color of the parameters or whatever table you put here. You also have an option of putting a structure on here. If you have a JPEG or ChemDraw file, you can drag either of them directly onto the spectrum here. So this is I'm dragging a ChemDraw spectrum and a ChemDraw structure right onto the spectrum here. And you can also resize it once you need to click on the structure itself and then resize it and drag it around to a place that's not overlapping peaks. And so you've got some space to put things, or you can put it in an empty spot in your spectrum. So a number of options for layout. So you can put tables around it or on it, put a structure in it or around it. Any of those things you can do. You can also just copy and paste this whole layout to a Word document. So if you just go up to Home, you can do the usual command for a copy to the clipboard and then go over to your Word document and paste it directly in. Another option is you can export it as a PDF. So if you go File, Export to PDF, you can put a file name in and save it wherever you want. You can also save this in a number of different formats under Save As. You can, the default is for MNOVA format, but you can save it as a BMP or JPEG. You can also save it as comma separated variable. That way, if you want to import it into a document like a software like Origin, you can do that also. And so a number of options when you for in MNOVA to change the layout for a presentation.